there's no way. I'm already still burning. So hold me close, now baby. I do what I'm told, still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride, look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, act like you surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in. So load up the dice, so heavy. The way that you roll, I'm falling. So I never fall, I'm ready to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing, you're my lucky strike, yeah. Love the way you ride, look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, yeah. Act like you surprised, but you already know. You're my lucky strike, and I got to tell you, if you didn't know.
Well, folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. It's actually episode 559. This is the chats edition. We also have a forums edition every week where we just talk strategy. I'm your host, Jim Reed, Bluffsterini in the home game and at RecPokerJim on Twitter. And I have the best freaking job in the world, talking poker here with my friends on the podcast every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on YouTube. You can join us every week for free and win a prize just for showing up. We've got a great guest lined up. We're going to be talking to the Casino King in just a moment. But first, I have to thank our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. You can find out more about them at the website, runaces.com. Most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we depend on support from our sponsors and also from our premium members who take part in our training material and study opportunities for only $15 a month. And I'll say for less than 50 cents a day, if you like talking poker with friends, if you want to connect over Zoom with other fun, encouraging poker players, all trying to get better together, give our premium membership a try. You can always get your first month for only $5 by using the code RecPoker, or just sign up for free. Everything starts with a free account at RecPoker, and all you need to join is an email address and a smile, but we do insist on both. Now, they let me host the show on Mondays, but I'm only one man. It takes a group, a gang, a village, a crew to make all the magic happen here at RecPoker. We call this group of wizards the Wrecking Crew. And if you want to learn more about me or the rest of the Wrecking Crew, you can head on over to rec.poker/crew, or you can just listen up, because you're going to meet a few of them right here on the show tonight, starting with none other than producing co-host Chris Jones.
I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game, and I help run our monthly deep dive study topic. And this month we're looking at transitioning to cash games. So if you're more of a tournament player and you're kind of somebody who stumbles into a cash game and says, "What should I be doing differently here?" This month is a good topic for you to join us and talk about that.
My name is Joe Coolis. You can find me at Joe Cool PhD on X, or you can find me at Elvita11 in the home game. I am responsible for PsyOps, which apparently is of Taylor Swift fame now. I'm not involved in that particular process, but my workshop is called PsyOps. But maybe I am involved in that particular process. Only you have to show up to find out. What I do is I'm involved in applying psychological sciences to the poker world and the poker games that you're playing. This month, we will hopefully be looking at learning theory and how it applies to casinos broadly, but also to poker very specifically. And that's on the third Thursday of the month, I guess. Jim should prompt me to say so that you know.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
And I am John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere. And I run the home games for our online games for RecPoker.
And I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50 just about everywhere. And you can catch up with me every first and third Wednesday of every month, where we go through different poker books and we dissect them and try to figure out what the author is saying and try to apply it to our own game. Great discussions. Come and join us.
It's just a few of the Wrecking Crew members. Everyone has their own little areas of expertise or their areas of fun that we lead the charge here at RecPoker. I mostly just help make sure that the calendar goes accurately. So we all have different strengths that we bring to the table. I'm really excited to be welcoming the Casino King to the show. He's got Minnesota written all over him. I reached out because I saw the Running Aces, those notorious yellow $2 chips in one of his videos online, and said, "Oh, we got to make this connection." Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show, and welcome to the RecPoker podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and shout out to Running Aces. I'm glad that they support you guys. They support me as well in different ways, just by allowing me to film at their casino, and it's been a huge plus for me. So shout out to those guys, and thanks for taking the time to invite me on your show.
Yeah, man. Well, it's a labor of love. We love talking to people involved in the poker world. You've got an interesting story. So you used to be working with Sports Illustrated, I know. You kind of got into writing and content creation. You decided to make the move into essentially like poker video content in the last couple years. And now not only are you leading your own popular video brand, you're involved with Poker.org, which is a fantastic news organization that's covering the poker world. Well, don't let me put you in a box, man. If one of our listeners met you in the elevator today for the first time and didn't know anything about you, how would you describe your current role in the poker world?
For sure. It's really hard to explain in a quick elevator pitch because my life has been a roller coaster the last couple of years. But to put it in a nutshell, I've just always loved video. Video has been something that I've always had a big passion for. I went to college to study television, worked in sports media, and then when the pandemic hit and we were stuck inside, I started making little poker skits on TikTok. And one morning I woke up, one of them had went viral. And I kind of had a panic moment because I had a pretty prominent job at the time, and I didn't really want people to know that I was making these skits. So I quickly changed my TikTok name from my name Matt to something, and so I named it the Casino King, and kind of lived under the radar for a while, for about a year, just still making these skits that were getting a lot of traction, doing both blackjack and poker. Once, obviously pandemic hit, there was a lot of online poker. So I was playing basically every day. And then finally people at my work started finding out about it, and they were pretty supportive of it. But it got to a point where Ignition Casino reached out to me and asked, what would it take for you to make content for us, or allow us to sponsor your content. And Poker.org was also offering, and I kind of talked to my wife and decided that, I really love making these videos more than anything. So I made the jump back in June to do this full time, and somehow I'm still able to do it, which I feel like I'm conning the system. I don't know how we've done it, but here we are.
Well, your wife sounds like a very patient and accommodating person. I've seen her kind of her influence on some of the clips you've put out, or you've even featured her a few times. Um, what kind of like what do you have to do to maintain that kind of balance in the household where you're allowed to just like go and kind of, and when I say dork, I mean in a very affectionate way. I'm a dork and I like recognize the dork in you. To like have this like awesome, cool, fun, dorky video thing. Like I sound like you've really cracked the code. Did you have to get her on board? Is she just the wind beneath your wings kind of situation? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no secret that having a good support system in life is a cheat code, and she's been a huge support for me. She's a big numbers person, so she understands. She's an accountant, and so a lot of times my poker style, she understands the numbers, more than you'd think I would, and so she questions a lot of things I do. But it's kind of nice because it keeps me honest. Um, she's always been kind of like when we moved out to LA, it was like a big risk when I took my first job. And so I think she's always kind of trusted that I would never put us in a bad spot. And when Ignition offered to become one of my sponsors, they also offered to fly me and my family out to the World Series of Poker in June. So right away, I was like, "Hey, these people are flying us out. We got this amazing Airbnb out in Summerlin, had like a pool. We made like a whole family vacation out of it." So I think she was like, okay, this is nice. This is nice. And that was a good jumping off point. So shout out to Ignition for making it a smooth transition and helping, settle her nerves, my nerves. That was a big part of it for us.
That's awesome. Well, I've got a bunch of questions for you. I know we've got a bunch of people watching live over YouTube right now. If you're in the YouTube audience, feel free to type any questions for the Casino King here into the chat, and we'll make sure we get them to him. You have a job, YouTube chatters. I need some names of famous poker players. We're going to be playing Stake Study Stack at the end of the show, so please enter some famous poker players' names into the YouTube chat. And of course, we're also going to give away a prize as part of our raffle to help support food banks around the world. So stick around to the end of the interview. You'll have a chance to win a prize as part of our food bank raffle. And I guess I should say we're making it, gang. We finally got YouTube to the point where you can make a super chat donation. And if you choose to make a donation through the YouTube super chat, we'll make sure to share a portion of those proceeds with a food bank, either one here in Ontario or perhaps the Second Chance Harvest Heartland down in Minnesota that we recently did a benefit for at Running Aces. So get those questions in the YouTube chat. So Casino King, you moved to LA. Did you start in Minnesota? Is that where the story started? And I saw you there recently. Are you back, or what's going on with that? Where's home turf these days?
Like everything in my life, it's a long story, but the short answer is I did live in Minnesota for a while, and then we moved out to LA in 2015, back when I first started my sports media career. So we lived out there until 2021, and then moved back to Minnesota in March of 2021. So we're just kind of setting in our own roots here, and but have been back now for a couple of years, and it's definitely feeling like home.
Nice. Well, there's some great games in LA from what I've heard, where they actually let you play No Limit Hold'em. A lot of our regular listeners will know that in Minnesota, the game is spread limit, which just means that you can bet a maximum of $100 at any given action point. Matt, have you developed a technique or a strategy adjustment for playing in spread limit now that you're back in God's country?
Yeah, I mean, let me just say those are two completely different worlds, and I learned that the hard way. I mean,
Hmm.
the place I played was Hollywood Park in LA. It's next to the airport. Those are tourist people that are just flying in and out. It's next to the Rams Stadium. Those people don't play poker all the time, and a lot of times they just have money to burn. Then you land in Minnesota and you go to these card rooms, either Canterbury or Running Aces, and the same people go there quite a bit, and so they're pretty seasoned pros. And I got eaten alive. I didn't even know what spread limit was when I first got there, and so I was just like, I'll figure this out as it goes. And I hit the ATM quite a bit early. Um, the strategy that I've kind of found is that I find success if I can get it to a point where you're putting in max bets on the turn and river. So like if I got to the point where I have a decent hand and we're putting in max on the turn and river, you know, that's usually my goal. And I try to be pretty polarizing with that, but it's tough. It's tough to play my style of poker in spread limit because you get in a box, and I can get myself in a tough spot. I did just play in Running Aces Survivor tournament, which is basically a no limit game. And it was
Right.
nice to do that for the first time about a week ago. So I felt a little rusty, to be honest, but it was nice to have that option.
So talk to me a little bit about, you say my style of play. It sounds like that involves leverage, like applying some pressure on later streaks with big bets. First of all, is that correct? And secondly, has that always been your style of play, or is it something that you've adapted over time?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started playing, I've always just been a gambler. Like I've loved sports betting my whole life. Like blackjack has been a big part of my backstory. So I'm not afraid to risk money. And my comfort zone is always like, and something that we could talk about later is just whatever money I put down on a poker table, I want to be able to lose it. Because if I have that mindset of I'm not scared to lose this, then I can put max pressure on people that might be too scared to lose it. And that's how I've had a lot of success playing against other people that are similar to me, content creators that are really trying to stay within a bankroll and a budget. That's where I get in trouble in Minnesota because I can't make you risk your entire stack. I can only make you risk $100. And after you risk $100 the first time, the second 100 is a lot. It's easier to just flick the black chip in. So that is the toughest thing about being a reckless player. Those later streets, I can't put the pressure on, and I have to find other ways. But that's not to say I don't try. I mean, you've seen me. I still try to find a way to do it. Yeah, it's definitely a chore.
Now, I know Chris has a question, but I want to just take off one segue there. So it sounds like you don't consider yourself a professional player in the same way that, like, you make your money from the poker world, but through content creation and sponsorship. And so it's not like, oh, you tell me, do you have like a segregated bankroll that's just for playing and you strictly have to manage that? Or is it kind of less important for you how many buy-ins you have in the back pocket because it's not quite the same relationship as a professional player would have with their bankroll?
Absolutely. So the best way to describe it is my food for my family is paid from content. So all of that comes from my advertising on YouTube, on TikTok. But last year I made $15,000 playing on live streams. And so my bankroll didn't come out of my grocery money. That was all money that, I set aside for poker, and I strongly try to track it and make sure that I'm not just hitting the ATM all the time. So while I'm not a professional player that is paying rent and, stressing about the dollars everywhere, I am taking it very serious. I don't want to lose money trying to make money. So it's a happy medium there, but I definitely never put on the facade that I'm just a full-time poker player.
Yeah, that I think you cracked the code then. We were talking about this over the last couple of weeks with Joey and Chris Fox Wallace as well, about finding that sweet spot where you can make money playing poker, but it's not what you depend on to make money every month. That feels like the right way to fit poker into a rich, full, balanced, fun life.
Absolutely.
Chris Jones, jump on in there. I see you unmuted.
Yeah, Matt, I'm curious, you talked about your playing style. I got to sit with you at Running Aces weekend. What was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago? It was really a treat to play with you. And there was a kind of a legendary hand that came out of that. Well, maybe we'll put this in. I don't want to relitigate the hand. We can put it in the show notes, let our audience kind of see that if they didn't see it. But one of the questions I had for you as a content creator is to talk about your playing style. When you're in a hand, how much are you trying to just play your best poker, and how much are you like, boy, if I bluffed here, this would be a really good content if it got through. How do you balance that kind of push pull there as a content creator?
Absolutely. I mean, so there's a couple different ways to think about that, but the funniest and most realistic way I can tell you, sometimes how you get pot committed. There are other times I get content committed where I'm just like, I'm already committed to this hand for the video. And if I just fold now, then it's just I don't make a video of this. So at this point, it's going to cost me another $100 to try to push it to the limit. That does happen to me a lot. Oh, like specifically flush draws, straight draws. Those are situations where it pushes you over the edge of like, I know I probably shouldn't call here, but I'm gonna stick it in because at this point we gotta see it through. So that's kind of one way that I find myself just playing a little bit different because of the content side of it. But another side of it though is like I open every hand. I try to do that pretty consistently. So it's a lot of the pre-flop stuff is consistent, and then whatever happens on the flop and afterwards, that's kind of when the wheels can come off a little bit in terms of the strategy.
Now, did you try and like become a more studious player when you decided to make this leap into content creation for poker? Did you take the study of the strategy more seriously at that point?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of it just comes because if I'm not smarter, then I can't make content that smart people would like. If I'm making absolute errors in every video, it's not really watchable. So a lot of times understanding the thought process, understanding why something is a dumb move allows me to kind of make it more of a smarter joke instead of just like, hey, look at me, I'm an idiot that just lost all my money. It's like, yeah, I know I did a dumb thing here, but it's a roller coaster. So absolutely. And I've been taking coaching. I've had multiple poker coaches in the last year. And I've definitely come leaps and bounds better as a poker player in the last 6 months and the last 2 years for sure.
Now I hear people say, Jim, I'm not a good enough player yet to get coaching, or I'm not at the level where I like need coaching to take my game to the next level. And I always tell these people like, you're crazy. Like getting coaching, getting someone to help you understand what to work on, to give you the shortcuts to some answers, some easy low-hanging fruit, is invaluable. What have you found to be helpful from getting coaching? And was it just did you decide, I'm just going to ask some smart people to help me with my game, or how did you get into that kind of coaching relationship?
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing I would say about coaching is it doesn't make you worse. That's for sure.
Right.
It'll never make you
Right.
worse. So if you sign up for coaching, it can only make you better. I've done multiple different types of coaching. I've hired somebody for thousands of dollars and did like a package, learned a bunch. We went through and talked about poker tournament strategy, just basically really unlocked some things in my mind that I wouldn't get from watching a YouTube video. I did one-on-one, so I was able to ask questions. I didn't feel like an idiot asking those questions. Probably the best $2,500 I spent in a long time. I also have a partnership right now with Charlie Carroll, who I'm not paying him, but we just have a partnership of he's investing time in me to prove that if I follow his elite university, that you can become a winning player. And I've already had
anybody can do it. Is that the idea of you?
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, like look, this guy that plays Reckless, if he does it, you guys can too. So I also have like but I think that what that looks like for other people though is in other ways, like I talk to really smart players locally too, and just run stuff by them and try to get their ideas and thoughts. So there's different stages of coaching that you can approach. And I've also done group coaching too. So they all have their benefits. And if you're wanting to make money in poker, I think it's fine to invest in.
Yeah, and I tell people, just think about it like if you enjoyed golfing, and it was a hobby that you liked, you would get some tips from the assistant pro down on the range. It's not, $50 or $100 for an hour's lesson. It's not like you're going to make that $50 or $100 back the next time you go play golf, but you're going to be better at this thing that you love. And you mean that's valuable. And let alone to something like poker, where you actually can make that money back. It's like an investment in your own future, in your own skill in the game. So I do encourage people, try it out. Find, and even if you're not interested in paying for coaching, find a community like RecPoker or one of the other great communities out there. It doesn't have to be ours. And start talking to people about poker. Talking to people about poker is how you get better at poker. So don't learn in a silo. Don't just try and do it by yourself. I can't emphasize that enough. Go get some help and have some fun getting better at poker. Matt, before you got into this particular path that you're on. How did you kind of come across poker or poker knowledge? Did you just like grow up playing with friends and family? Did you see rounders? What was it that got you into it?
So I went. So I was in Minnesota when I was younger, and so I went to Mystic Lake and fell in love with blackjack, and it was something I loved to do. And it was I won right away. So I don't know. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me is I won playing blackjack the first time. And so when I moved out to LA, I was talking to my buddy one weekend, and I was like, we gotta go find a casino. Like, there's got to be a place that we can, play some blackjack. And so we went to Hollywood Park, and when you go to Hollywood Park, they have a rule that every blackjack hand, you have to just forfeit $1. So they make you pay $1 ante. It's horrible. And I didn't have that much money. So I was trying to bet $5, but then I'm forfeiting $1 ante. And I was like, quickly, I'm not a math guy, but the math wasn't adding up. And so I was like, this is dumb. And I realized they have a massive poker room there. And so I was like, well, how much does it cost to buy in for poker? And it was only $100 to play 1-2. That's the max buy-in. So I bought in, and I realized how much more time you get for your money playing poker. And I was like, this is phenomenal. This is like I don't feel rushed. I got coolered right away. I had a straight, but I didn't realize there was 4 cards to a flush on the board. So but I fell in love with it right away. And so after that, I went home, I started YouTubing just like basic poker knowledge. My wife bought me a book, like one of those books that's like this thick that you got from Barnes and Noble. And then I watched Dan Negreanu's masterclass and Phil Ivey's. So like I started with the very stereotypical, trying to get better, learn the basics. And that's kind of all I did for the first couple of years, was I was just, still playing for fun and was a total fish. And probably still am, but a bigger fish at the time.
Well, let's talk about sort of your the professional side of things. So you've moved into being a poker industry professional, relatively recently. What surprised you about the poker world that you weren't expecting when you decided to cross the bridge?
Yeah, it's quite the the thing that it hit me like a freight train was I really came up on TikTok. So when I was on TikTok, everybody on there is my age, or not anymore. TikTok is definitely everybody. But before, it was my age, and I was old, like a lot of younger people. So no one knew who Phil Hellmuth was. No one knew, what basic strategy is. They're asking me questions, and it was so positive. It was such a positive environment. Like, I was responding to comments, just basically telling people what blinds are, the poker 101. And that, started into YouTube, and I started doing YouTube, and a little bit of negativity started creeping in. And I was like, oh, this is
are we talking about the comment section here?
Yeah,
yeah. I've heard.
And then I was introduced to poker Twitter. And that was just like, oh my God. Once I started making content for poker.org, they're like, and then just throw that up on Twitter, and I was like, oh, whatever, nobody's on Twitter. And some of the stuff that gets written in the comment section or my DMs, I realized how toxic, the poker community can be on Twitter. And I'm not throwing any shade, but it's just the truth. And so trying to figure out how to balance making content for TikTok, still making content for the newer poker players, but also making content for people that have been playing for way longer than I have. That's been the biggest struggle for me. And I'm figuring it out, but because they want to post content everywhere, but trying not to offend better players by posting the same video that people would find a lot of value on, YouTube or TikTok for.
That sounds like a juggling act. And yeah, Twitter is very polarizing for poker. It's got some high highs and some low lows. There's no doubt about that. Joe Coolis, jump on in.
So, I mean, I had actually a question along those lines, because the videos that I've watched, and I'm not, a connoisseur at this point, but I'm going to watch some more, because I find it fascinating how you're willing to admit, yeah, this place sucks, because lots of people won't. But there's an obsessiveness that runs through poker at times, made up largely of individuals in a lot of games that have a lot of rules. And that doesn't always go well when you post a video online where you're essentially avoiding those rules. I mean, to be honest, when I was watching your video today, I was like, oh God, what is his comments going to look like? Because he's going to get shredded for making that bad at that particular moment. How do you navigate that with an obsessive fan base that like the one that's in poker?
Yeah, so there's two different types of negative. And one of them I fully embrace, and that is, poker's a maddening game. So like you could play 100% to the rules and still lose, and that's the beautiful thing about it. If it wasn't that way, then I'd be an idiot, a complete idiot. I'm just a sort of an idiot now because, I still find a way to win. But the negative comments, I embrace those on Facebook, on YouTube, because it's good for my video. So like if I play reckless and somebody's like, you moron, yada yada, it's like, that's fine. Put that in there. It also is fine because people have conversations. If you go back through and look at people that aren't talking about me, it can start with somebody saying this guy's an idiot, but then it'll turn into a ladder of people being like, well, why is he an idiot? And then this is what you should have done here. And you see people talking to each other in a constructive way. And so I more so view my videos as conversation starters, and people will, and you'll see that actually as well in my poker org videos that I make. I try to start conversations and I don't necessarily answer them. And we, get people to comment and start communicating with each other. So that negativity I can deal with all day. It's certain poker players that are like coming after me personally, on their own platforms and trying to actually like hurt my career. That's a different negativity that I'm still figuring out how to deal with. But the trolls and stuff, like I welcome it honestly, and it doesn't hurt my feelings.
Well, I have a strategy for you to deal with the trolls. I guess the question is, how deep does your geek go in terms of, and you identified yourself earlier as kind of dorky. How deep does that go? Is it very deep or just kind of deep?
I mean, I geek out about a lot of stuff, so I don't know if I'm answering your question 100%, but
Well,
I very much am a geek.
I'm leading into something. Do you know who Guild Tesoro is?
Yes.
Do you ever get confused? Do you want to explain to people who I am bringing up in this particular moment?
No, I'll let you. I just
Okay. Guild Tesoro is the real Casino King, also known, if my sources are, as the Monster of the New World. It's an anime character in One Piece. So for the geeks in the audience, and a part of the reason I'm doing this is because when I was looking up your name and I was typing Casino King, my son's eyes lit up. He's like, he watches the One Piece obsessively, so I got to comment on it so I can show him this, and he'll be proud of me. But I do think that he looks pretty frightening. So anytime anybody says that, just send them a picture of the other Casino King, and you'll be good to go.
I like that. Put a little fear in them.
Exactly.
So talk a little bit about the process that you have. So you play in card rooms, you get their permission to record action at the tables. You've got a little stand for your phone. You record the videos there while you're playing, and you're very prolific. I mean, you put out a lot of great stuff. Tell us a little bit about what happens after the tables. I assume a lot of the work of the production work happens away from the tables.
Absolutely. Yeah. All that happens at the table is I take short videos on my phone. I start and stop at the beginning and end of any hand that I plan to play. A lot of times the biggest issue is if I push record before I get the cards, it's not a tell. If I wait to look at my cards and I'm pushing record, then people kind of know I have something I'm working with. So I get a bunch of videos, I go home, and then I rewatch my session in like rapid, basically like I'm swiping through like boring. And I can usually tell if a hand's good if the video is longer than 7 seconds. So then I go through and I'll just heart them. Like if you look in your phone, you can favorite things. So I'll just like the videos that I think are good. Eventually, I'll just drop them onto my computer, then go through and label them, and then I put them in wins and losses. One of my strategies is I don't want to post a bunch of wins and I don't want to post a bunch of losses. So I will usually go to whatever the opposite folder is. and pick one of the solid, a solid clip from a win if I just post a loss, or vice versa. And then I look at it and I kind of just start writing down things that are going through my head. So some of it's hand history. If there's like a dumb joke that I have, I'll also put that in. And then I record the audio, and either I'll edit it then, or I pass it off to my editor, who will then kind of cut things up together, time it up, and add in some sound effects.
And how long did it take to kind of get some facility with things like on screen graphics and text and that kind of stuff, and just adding that production value to the work?
I think I mean, I'm a little bit advantaged on it because I've always been a video editor. But once I got my process down, it probably took me, about a month of doing these vlogs to like figuring out, okay, I've streamlined this process. It takes me an hour to do it. So I've got it down where I can make a video in about an hour, outside of the plane. So once I have the file, from writing it to editing it to posting it, probably takes me about an hour.
Cool. So tell me a bit about Poker.org and your relationship with them. They came on the scene in the last couple of years. They've really been making inroads, trying to sort of be the player's perspective on news and poker today. I should say I'm on their player advisory board, so I'm a fan of what they're doing. They don't pay me or anything, but I think I like to support their organization. They seem to have their heart in the right place when it comes to covering poker. How did your relationship with them start? And if you don't mind getting into like some of the details of how, like, I'm always fascinated by this role that certain people have within the poker world. As you know, we're in that elite group of people that get paid something to do with poker without playing poker specifically. So like, talk a little bit about that relationship in that report.
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually started a little bit before I even met Poker.org. I worked for Zynga Poker, and
Sure.
they had launched a TikTok account and asked me to help them build up their page. And after about a month, we had a bunch of viral videos, a lot of success on there, and got them to about 130,000 subscribers. And so Poker.org saw that, and they were like, "Hey, we're going to start our own TikTok account. Would you want to come over and make some content for us?" So I started making some videos for them. I was doing they basically just said, "Hey, turn in a video. We'll pay you X amount for a video. Whenever you feel like it, we'll take it, as much as or as little as you want." And so I just started making some videos, had some more success. I also had the Phil Hellmuth interview around the same time. So that was taking off. And then Poker News reached out to me and was interested in potentially working together. That got back. I think they actually reached out to Poker.org and told them like, "Hey, we're going to reach out to Matt and try to hire him." And then Poker.org was like, "What would it take for you? We want to just sign you to a different deal that you're just with us on a more consistent basis." So about in June, same time as Ignition, they brought me on for a more consistent basis, and I now help run their YouTube account and work on them with video strategy. So I make content for them, but I'm also helping them out in other ways, in more of a consulting role. So it's been really cool. Sarah, who's like the head of their content there, is an absolutely amazing person and one of the best people I've worked for. So I'm super blessed to be a part of that family.
That's awesome. Is that where the booth, the background with all the poker cards, with all the playing cards up? When did that enter the production team?
So that entered right around the time that the Robbie Lou cheating scandal happened.
Yeah.
Because I realized I wanted to cover some content like that, and that was not for Poker.org. That was just like, I just want some sort of thing in my room. So I just went out and bought a bunch of those huge cards that you see at Walgreens, and I just took some tape and stuck them up. I think my wall's ruined once I pull those all down. But no, so I just built that in the corner of my room, and I've slowly adapted it to be a Poker.org set now.
Cool. No, it's really sharp, man. It helps you stand out. Well, and I'll remind our YouTube folks, if you've got any questions, type them in. We're about 40 minutes into our interview here, and I don't like to keep our guests too long. I know you've got a lot on the go, Matt. Actually, let's talk about that. What's coming up for you? What are you looking forward to as we round the corner into February 2024?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife is just about to have a baby, so I'm kind of shutting things down for a little bit here. It's our second.
Whoa.
Very excited.
Okay,
Um,
congratulations.
yes, thank you. Thank you. Super excited. It obviously takes a lot of prep to get ready for that. So for the next month or two, a lot of what I'm going to be doing is local stuff here in Minnesota. I'm running some tournaments on Ignition and doing stuff like that. So for the up until April, I plan to just be in the Midwest. I definitely am planning to go out for World Series of Poker at some point. And my friend Cairo, who I do a lot of content with, um, he has some opportunities coming up to potentially play in some live streams out in Los Angeles. So if those opportunities come up, then I'll definitely be going out west to play in those, hopefully in April.
Nice, man. Well, congratulations on so many fronts. I mean, it's you're really finding your path here. It feels like you're really hitting your stride. So really, congratulations. That's great news.
Thank you.
I like to tease a little bit of strategy content out of our guests here on the show. You're always kind of like looking for a hook in these hands, like you have to find something interesting. And sometimes that's going to be the size of the pot or something weird about the betting pattern or something like that. But you must also see a lot of kind of like weird plays from a variety of skill levels of opponents. What are some ways where you are playing with someone and they kind of indicate to you without meaning to, that they are less experienced or that they're capable of making the kind of mistake that you'd like to capture for a clip?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to a lot of times people will talk to me more. And a lot of times if they've seen my content, they're wanting to tell me all about how they saw my stuff, how long they've been playing. And you just learn. So nobody sits down at a poker table and they're just like, hey man, I don't know anything about what I'm doing. I've been playing for 5 days. Like, and I somehow get a lot of that. And it is walking a fine line of trying not to take advantage of those people as well, because a lot of times they're followers and people that support me. So I have a story. I was playing at Running Aces and I had a guy sit down and he told me, he's like, I just started playing poker in the last 2 months, and I love your videos. I saw you were playing here. It was for the No Limit thing, and he's sitting right to my left, and I have pocket aces, and literally king comes out on the flop, and I like bet, and he raised, and I was like, I know you have, like, if you've only been playing for 2 months and you're raising me here in this situation, I know you have a king. And then in that spot, I'm just like, I could take all your money. And it's just a tough spot, because you're like also trying not to. It's probably like just gray area to even be talking about. But I ended up just slow playing it. And I just was like, I'm not going to take all your money. And I basically just bet and then would call his raise. And I only had aces, so it's not like I had a flush. And at the end, he flips over king deuce offsuit. And
Right.
and I was just like, man. And then so afterwards, I was talking to him, like trying to tell him like how to play better and stuff. And then I was like, man, I probably missed out on, $500 there. But it's an interesting spot, right? Because one thing I deal with is I have a lot of people rallying behind me here in Minnesota, and I wouldn't want to be I don't want to be that guy that's ruining people, So I don't even know why I said all that, but that is I have a lot of those situations where people overshare, and I find myself, I'm not a bad person, and so it's trying to navigate being a good poker player, but also a good human at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you represent a brand or an organization. Like I get stopped at the tables from time to time, and people are like, oh, I really appreciate what you guys do with the podcast, or you gave this advice on a show and it really meant a lot. And you do. I mean, Matt, we're both like generally nice people, but poker is a competitive game, and there is that fine line, and there is kind of like that tension. We were playing it at the RecPoker weekend at Running Aces, and I was in a tournament, and someone shoved in late position, and I was in the big blind, and I looked down at King 7 suited, and I was like, "This is a call. Like check the charts. This is a call." But if I call, I'm gonna I'm gonna like get that reaction from this player, and I did. So I made the call, and I did. And I think we might have lost a listener based on how that went. But it is it is kind of like a tricky little tension in this zero-sum game that we play. So I feel that. Um, but at the same time, it's obviously you must find that very gratifying and validating and rewarding for people to take the time out of their day to tell you that they enjoy what you're doing. Has anyone really like swept you off your feet? Has there been one comment that sort of like hooked you a little bit when they were telling you?
I think the thing for me is anybody that takes time out of their day to even say anything to me, I still don't believe people watch my content until I meet them. But we were at it was after the Hustler stream, and I was with a bunch of content creators, and the content creator space is very competitive. Everybody's like, oh, I'm this and that, and I'm still relatively small compared to a lot of vloggers out there. And we had all went to Raising Cane's in in Compton, and this kid comes up to me in front of everybody, and he's like, "Hey, you're Casino King, right?" And I was like, "I am, yeah." And I've never had somebody in public that's not at a casino come up to me. And he's like, "I love your content. I've been watching it for a long time. Like, I used to live in Minnesota. Now I live out here, and it's cool to see Running Aces." And I was like, "Thanks, man. That's so awesome. It's nice to meet you. Do you want to take a picture?" And then there's a couple other guys who I won't say their names, but they're bigger than me. They're like, do you watch anybody else's content?" And he's like, "Nope, I don't." And I was like, "Let's go. Let's go."
That's awesome.
Small wins, the Minnesota connection though. But anyway, that's one that sticks out to me for sure.
I love it. Good for you, man. That's fantastic. We're gonna move on to Stake Study Stack in just a second. But before we do, I'll give our YouTube chatters one more chance to add any more questions in there. Matt, what's one piece of advice that you would give recreational poker players for how to improve their game? Just one piece of like low-hanging fruit that's like a common thing that recreational poker players have in common that you think they could improve on.
Absolutely. I mean, my best advice, and take any advice I give with a grain of salt, but it's just to always play within your means. Don't play in a game ever that you aren't financially comfortable playing in, because like I was saying, I like to make sure that I financially am comfortable making any decision needed at the time. And if you're playing in a game that you can't make those decisions, you are so easily exploitable. Even though it's more fun to play that higher tournament, even though it's more fun to try to play the 2-5 game, if you're not ready for it, it's just going to be a hard lesson. So just be patient with yourself and your bankroll.
That's good advice. Last question, I think for you in particular, until we get to the speed round. What are your goals now?
Sure. I mean, I have different goals. One of the goals that I have always had is I want to be one of the greatest content creators of all time. So not necessarily just in poker, but like I have a short film I'm working on that's casino related, but I have other bigger media goals that I'm working on as well. But from a poker standpoint, I just want to keep on getting better and better and be an inspiration for people that you can put in the time and be a better player. So my goals are just to continue to grow as a poker player and not lose all my money.
Yeah, those sound like very good goals. Chris, why don't we close out the question round with Stake Study Stack, and then we'll move on to closing the action in our speed round.
All right, Matt. So this is a game we call Stake Study Stack. Basically, I'm going to give you 3 names. You're going to pick one of these players that you'd like to stake in a cash game or tournament, one that you'd like to study with, and one that you'd just like to take all of their chips.
Okay. Okay.
And I know you've been just talking about how competitive a space it is, so I hope I'm not creating any bad blood, but I've got some content creators for you for the list. So the 3 I've got for you are Brad Owen, Marley Sprague or Marley Poker, and Greg Goes All In.
Oh, excellent. All right. So it's stake, study, or stack.
Yep.
Okay. Well, stack easily has to be Greg because he's a great friend of mine, and I easily want to stack him. I would probably want to stake Marley because she is a great tourney player, and there could definitely be some really high payouts with her. I think she's an amazing player, and I'd already study Brad Owen, so it's easy for me to say that. I think those are my final answers.
All right, awesome. Thanks.
All right, good answers. So we're going to close it out, folks. Closing the action here on the Rec Poker podcast with the Casino King. So, Matt, you know how this works. We are going to hit you up with some speed round questions, quick answers, fast answers. If you have to think about it, you can say pass. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. We're going to start off with a super easy one. We're just going to like let you warm up in the pool, get those ankles wet. Here we go. Get ready. What is your favorite poker hand?
9-10 suited.
Great answer. Poker, is it a gamble or a skill game?
Gamble.
What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
People that yell at other players.
Good answer. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes, absolutely.
Is Ace King a drawing hand?
Yes.
In tournament play, are you pro chop or no chop?
No chop.
What player type are you?
Reckless.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
What is one thing that you are afraid of?
Making myself look like an idiot on a live.
Brave man. Brave man. Should vacations be lazy or busy?
Lazy.
Yellow light coming up. Speed up or slow down?
Speed up.
Who is your poker nemesis?
Frankie C.
What's your favorite color?
Orange.
What is your favorite childhood family holiday meal?
Thanksgiving.
Good one. And do you, if for tournament play again, are you someone who likes to register early or max late reg?
Max late reg.
All right. So last question here, and you can take your time with this one. Looking back on your life, you've lived a rich, full life. You've got a baby number 2 on the way, all the success in the poker world. If someone came up to you, put a gun to your head and said, you have to go back and do one thing differently, what would you do differently?
I think if I had to go back and do one thing differently, I would have, I don't know. Honestly, this is a tough one. It's a very tough one. I don't want to, I guess there aren't any major things that I would go back. I mean, I probably would tell myself not to be such a diehard Michigan State fan because it's miserable. So I guess that's probably what I would have done differently.
All right, we'll take it. We'll take it. It might you might be a happier man in the long run. I guess we'll never know. But all right, I'm just doing some quick math here. 792 points. That's pretty good, man. Not bad. Not bad showing at all. Congratulations. Up in the high 700s there. All right.
The other Casino King is very proud of you, and my background shows
he looks very proud. He looks
He
very
looks
proud.
like me, I'm telling you.
Yeah. It's like looking in a mirror down there. All right, well, folks, we're gonna let Matt head out here in just a moment. Before we do, though, so I guess I'll tell YouTube folks, start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat. That's how you're going to enter our raffle here. And I'll just say, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but food insecurity is a real issue around the world. It might be some people in your own community, in your own neighborhood that are struggling to put food on the table or to feed a child or a loved one. And you never know who needs help. And a great way to make a positive change in the world, a great way to get a high ROI on your donation is to donate some pantry items or a few bucks out of your pocket or a few hours of your time to a local food bank. And if you just pull out your smartphone, everyone's got one, and Google food banks near me, you'll find an organization in your area that could use your support. But in the meantime, just type the words food bank into the YouTube chat here, and we will award a prize to one of our raffle winners later tonight. Matt, if people want to support what you're doing, say thanks for coming on the show, can they subscribe to something? Can they sign up for something? Can they stop you in the street and say some key word to you? What's the best way for them to help you on your journey and to say thanks for coming on the RecPoker podcast?
Of course, yeah. You guys can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, just the Casino King, the real Casino King, one of those. And if any of you are in Minnesota at Running Aces, please don't hesitate to come say hey. It always makes my day meeting everybody.
Right on. Well, I really appreciate the time, and it was great to meet you a couple of weeks ago. I hope we get a chance to play together again sometime real soon, and I'll just see you on that hellscape that we call Twitter in the meantime. Keep it up, bud.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Well, we're going to wrap up this portion of the show with some home game results, compliments of the one and only John Somsky, and then we will give away a fantastic prize to one of our members in the YouTube chat. John, I'll remind you that you are muted. Please jump in here with some home game results.
Yeah, and now I can't seem to find the web page that had those home game results. So,
and while John's looking at that, we'll just look at the calendar and see what's happening. Now, it is Monday night, and it's currently February 5th. This episode is going to come out on the 9th, which means that if you're a premium member and you're watching live, you can join us for the forums edition of the podcast, which we typically record just after this chats edition of the podcast. So if you're a premium member, head on over to rec.poker, and right there on the homepage, you'll find a calendar with links to all our events. There are so many events here at RecPoker to take advantage of. The next one is the forums edition. How you doing, John?
All right. On January 29th, K-Poker wannabe Ron Payton got his first nightly victory for the year. Noah with several H's. 1291, Noah Anderson got his second nightly victory for the year. Chase Sedum, Jeff S. got his second nightly victory for the year. Gopher Boy TJM, Taylor, got his first daily mixed victory for the year. JMA USA, Jun Nomoto got his first international victory for the year. Rozzy Q, Roz Corto, got her first international victory for the year. And now then KB got his second LPP victory of the year.
I recognize a lot of those names from last week's episode and the week before that. We've got a bunch of these people, some repeat winners in here. And I love it when an international player wins the international series. JMay USA playing all the way from Japan, if I understand it correctly.
Yep.
Congratulations to June. And some fantastic repeat winners. We get, 50-something runners. Sometimes we get a lot more than that. I think I'm not sure if we ever hit 100. Have we hit 100, John?
I don't believe so.
No, we've been in the 90s several times, but to get your name on the podcast, you are fighting your way through a pretty wide field of serious amateur recreational poker players. So congratulations, especially to those repeat winners on finding their way in. That's fantastic. Rob, did you have something?
It would make it easier for me on remembering and saying their names correctly, but evidently it doesn't really matter. No matter how many times they win, I'll still mess it up.
I think your goldfish brain is adorable, and I'm so glad that every week it's like you're reading these names for the first time. I think it's just charming as hell, John. Never change. Never change.
All right.
Rob Washam, did you have something there?
Yeah, we have the results for the January ROI.
Right. So first tell our listeners sort of what this is, and then let's see who the big winners are this month.
What we do is we take the results of each month's home games, and we're talking strictly the daily Hold'em games. So it does not include the mixed games or either the player of the year Hold'em game or the player of the year mixed game is not included. These are just regular everyday, including the internationals. And we look up what the ROI of these players are for the month. So in other words, how much money have they made versus how much money they have spent? And that's generally how tournament players look at their results and understand how they're doing as an overall player. So we're doing it month to month. And for this month, we are going to highlight the RecPoker or the Wrecking Crew members that are in the top 5, but we're also going to recognize the top 5 premium members that are not RecPoker players. And the prize is going to go to the number 1 premium member. And Jim, can you remember what the prize is?
I can. If you are the premium member with the highest ROI in the month, then you have won an invitation to come on the RecPoker podcast and join the panel here. When Rob announces the winner, you can email in to claim your prize. We'll share the guests that are coming up over the next little while, and then you can choose which week you'd like to show up, which guest you'd like to meet over Zoom, ask some questions, make a connection. It's just a fun way to reward some of our excellent premium members for their excellence on the e-felt. A great idea that Rob's been putting together here. Way to go, Rob.
No problem. So we'll go through the results now. The number one player happens to be a Wrecking Crew member,
I'm shocked.
and his name is Gopher Boy
Oh.
BJM.
God. All right, fine.
219% ROI.
Wow.
Now, and he's only played 4 games.
Which
So
is the minimum,
basically-
right? You have to play
Right, you have to play at
games.
least 4 games. So there's some people that may have more because they played once and won, but he
Right.
played 4 games and was at 219% ROI.
I will mention to our listeners, Taylor Moss is one of the Wrecking Crew members that offers coaching through our coaching program here. Very affordable. The guy has results, just like Chris and Kim and Rob and I and some other Wrecking Crew members that enjoy coaching with our members. If you go to rec.poker/coaching, find a way to be like Taylor Moss. Oh God, that feels weird just saying it, but I mean, he is a talented poker player. Say what you will about the guy, he is definitely a talented poker player.
Definitely. And the number one premium member, this person seems to show up quite a bit every month when we run our ROI, and his name is Max Chaos 2112.
Hey, there you go, Greg
Clem, who has been on the podcast a number of times. He's the guy that interviews the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was at 212. Then the next one actually there's another Wrecking Crew member, and he has a goal this year of winning 20 game.
Yeah,
and his
21.
name is
21.
Was it 21? He wants to beat. What's his name?
He wants to beat Dave. He wants to beat Dave.
That's right.
No, and Jacob. Yeah, Jacob had that crazy goal as well a couple
Kiki.
years ago. Kiki, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is
East
the
Coast,
one and only
East Coast bidder Ben Enslow.
That's right.
At 144%. So
Amazing.
He's staying true to his goal, and he's playing a lot, and he's coming in hot every time.
Should we break some news? Should we break some news about Ben? He doesn't usually get to join us here on the chats edition of the podcast.
Timing is pretty bad for him. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Do we want to? I mean, is that okay? Is he okay
I think
with that?
I think he'd be okay with it.
All right.
He might have to.
I think I'd be very clear about that. I'd be careful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, you're right.
You have a tendency to dox people's names. And I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'd check with him.
All right. I'll double check. He did say he has mentioned it on his stream, so I know it's something that's going out there. But no, you're right. I'll double check. Tune in next week if you want some juicy goss on what's happening behind the scenes. Oh, he's in the chat. Ben's in the YouTube chat. All right, Ben, we're doing it. Ben, I am so freaking excited for this guy. East Coast Bidder. He's gonna have to change his name to Papa Bidder or East Coast Daddy or something, because he and his fantastic partner Brianna are welcoming a little baby Enslow into the family. There's going to be another East Coast Bidder out there. So congratulations to Ben. I'm so excited for you, man. And thanks for letting us all know about it. We some of us have heard behind closed doors. We're super excited for you. So many wonderful congratulations. Yeah, you'll hear more from us in person, but I'm excited to be able to spread this news on the RecPoker podcast. There's going to be a new Enslow in the world. We couldn't be happier for you. Although, listen, brother, that's going to take a dent in your ability to play in a lot of these home games. So like, I know you've set the goal of 21 for this year, which is a bold, brave goal. And I just want you to know, like, better get ahead of it, brother, because you're gonna have a busy summer. Joe, did you have something?
I do want to say that, and watch, if you ever get a chance to watch, or at least previously to watch some of Ben's Twitch streams, he clearly has the quilt needed for having a baby. He's got the best quilts I've ever seen that he just kind of wraps himself up in where he used to play. So he's ready to go.
That's awesome. And Ben's getting a lot of love here in the YouTube chat. Well deserved. One of my favorite things about Ben is that he was at the table for my very first RecPoker home game when I joined RecPoker back in 2019, when the home game club had just gotten started. I had Ben 2 seats to my left and Chad McVean 2 seats further over. And that was my introduction to RecPoker. 2 class acts, 2 fantastic RecPoker folks. So I always have a soft spot in my heart for Ben Enslow. And I think I also reached out on Twitter because I liked his avatar and didn't know that he was that same friendly Canuckian that had been playing at the home game club. Anyway, Ben, congratulations. And congratulations on winning the ROI for the month of January. Rob, we call that a rabbit hole.
No, he didn't win the ROI.
Greg won
third. Gopher Boy, TJM, Max Chaos, and East Coast Bitter came in third. Now, for
as
the
far as I'm
second
concerned,
premium,
Ben and Greg, they won, and we can just skip the top one.
Isn't a baby worth like 500% ROI?
I think so.
He produced life, for crying out loud, and you're like, third.
Yeah, but so is Taylor, and I don't know.
That's true. That's true. We don't know about Greg, but yeah.
And I know the next person his name is Spot Conlon. Who came in 4th, but 2nd in our premium members.
Right.
My favorite villain. I love playing against him. He usually takes advantage of me, but every now and again I get one up over him. So it's been fun. And then we had Bone Crusher 14 at 99%.
Amazing.
Beat Chip. Charles Allen at 84%. And then Now You Said It at 79%, came in 5th in the premium members. So
fantastic.
That's our ROI for January.
Those are some great results for our RecPoker premium members. And I'm not gonna, I guess we can dox a couple of those people, because I know Marcel Dusick is one of those people, and his name's often in the winner's circle. And I think Spot Conlon, we can say, is Dan Kennedy. And I will say, he knows how to jam the fun in. He knows how to pack an experience into the poker table. There's no doubt about that. We had a lot of fun hanging out. And he's also the only gold RecPoker pin winner in history so far.
Yep. And if you're on X, go check out Ace Rag Off. And he has put some very funny tweets out there. He's not afraid to mix it up a little bit in X, let's just say.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Rob, thanks for your John.
I just wanted to let everyone know that's not a drug reference. That's the social media platform formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, popularly known as Twitter, I think, is how we're going to be referring to it over here, or just the hellscape. I've thought about just going with the hellscape. All right, right on. And Rob, thanks for putting that together. And Greg, send that email, jim@rec.poker, and let us know which guest you'd like to meet, and how we can arrange your coming on the podcast as a non-interviewer panelist. So I'm excited for that. Let me see, folks. Should we give away a prize and pack this up? Is there anything else coming up that people should be talking about? It's about to be Marek Madness time. We'll wait until we have Taylor Moss available to share some more details about that, but that's going to be an exciting series of events all throughout the month of March. Chris, I think I only got 2 entries. I can't believe all these people watching. We only have 2 people typing the words food bank in for free. I see Eric Anderson and the RRRCCC. Is that what you see as well? I don't want Phil to show up and get Poppy on us here with a deep dive.
We don't need an investigation. Although it sounds like from our last episode, that's not really what he's doing anymore. So
no, it's true.
Maybe he won't. We can probably now that we can just run wild, and he's not.
Let's just make it all up.
He's not going to run us down.
Make it up.
Yeah,
let's make it up as we go.
I'm having trouble with my. So I'm doing something different. I've got 2 dice in my hand. One is a 6-sider. One is a 20-sider. I'm shaking them up. We'll say Eric is the 6-sider. The RRCC is the 20-sider. Pick a hand, right or left.
Okay, my left.
I don't know what you. Well,
Your
pick my hand.
Your left.
Okay, my left.
Your left. Your left.
It's the 20-sider. Which one did I say?
Okay.
I think I said that was the RRCC, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So congratulations to the RRCC. You're our winner.
Like a well-oiled machine.
Oh, we are
Like
getting
a
good at this.
well-oiled machine.
We
I'm
got
telling you.
Jim saying, is the dice coming out of my ear? Is this some sort of strange magic trick that we're doing here? I don't understand.
It finally took us to episode 559 to really, really nail this whole thing.
That was
now
well
we
done.
really
we did that
polished.
really well.
And we might have made history today using a die in the like weirdest possible way to determine the outcome of something. I don't think that's ever been done before. A random choice between two dice.
I know.
I think we were like making history. I think we are. We're
I
making history.
think there's a reason that they've never been done before, but logical consistency.
You're gonna see this now everywhere. This is gonna be everywhere.
We're trendsetters, man. This is where it all started. Look back in 2025, 2026. You're gonna see people using dice in different pockets, in different hands, pulling them behind people's ears. It's going to take the world by storm. And the RRCCC, you have won before, so you know the drill. Send an email to info@rec.poker, and you will be able to choose between a number of fantastic prizes available to you. And Eric Anderson, he's throwing the red flag. He wants a replay. Which die did Chris say was going to? Well, we might have to review the footage.
It's a good thing this is recorded, so we can figure that out. But if Eric is challenging, we can go back and review.
We can go back to the tape. So Eric, listen to this podcast when it comes out on Friday. You've already enjoyed the podcast, but skip to the end. And if we got the dice screwed up, email me and we'll just give away 2 prizes this month or this week. What's the worst thing that could happen? If we get prize audited, I'll tell them it was my mistake. I'll take the fall, guys. Don't worry. The prize IRS will not have their way with us here. We're just going to make it happen. But congratulations to the RRCCC. Send that email. Okay, we're going to head off and record the forums edition of the podcast. If you think we get off the rails here on the chats edition, just wait till we actually have to debate some strategy content. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to take a forum post from the free RecPoker forums and talk about it on the air with our poker friends. Gang, is there anything else that we should remind our listeners about before we pat this baby on the butt and roll on out of here? Doesn't look like it. Okay, well then, without any further ado, I want to thank the real Casino King, Rob Washam, Joe Coolis, John Somsky, and Chris Jones. Of course, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. They've got an event coming up February 7th to 11th for the love of money. Go check it out. And thanks for your support, everyone. We'll see you next week on the RecPoker Podcast.